This happened to me when I was a first-year college student at the art college. Being an art student was great. I was exposed to a lot of artists with different styles and techniques. I had a small group of friends and we had a lot in common. We loved to draw, we loved to write stories, and we even attended plays and art fests. One day, we were required to participate in a leadership training seminar. There were activities that included amazing race-like games, getting to know our schoolmates and potential business connections, and even campus explorations. That also meant we would be sleeping at the college for one night. It was quite fun playing the games and doing the activities that the facilitators had planned for us. Finally, it was nighttime, and it was also dinner time. We stayed in room 204 and gathered in a circle to eat our dinner. School meals weren't always so great, so we snuck some fast food to share. As we ate our dinner, we began to tell creepy ghost stories. One of our classmates, whose older sister had gone to college some years back, told the famous story of a student who died 100 years ago and whose body was never found. A long time ago, when the university had been used as a jail for prisoners of war during the war, some of the students had been forcibly drafted as nurses and reserve soldiers. It was a terrible time to be drafted and forced into war, and those who opposed were either arrested or executed on the spot. She began. One of these drafted nurses was a girl who was both lovely and talented. The men liked her for her medical skills, but more so for her youthful and pure body. One fateful night, the men took advantage of her, and when she refused, they took her to a remote spot and executed her. They then hid her body, where, to this day, it remains undiscovered and forgotten. "That's so sad," I said. "So nobody knows where they buried her?" My classmate shook his head. "No one. It's been said that ever since then people see her spirit wandering around one of the colleges, and those who see her tend to feel all sorts of things." I have no idea what sorts of things my classmate was referring to, but I'm assuming it was something unpleasant. We went on to tell more stories. Then we heard the signal for lights out, so we quickly ended our storytelling and got into our sleeping bags to sleep. Probably around 2, maybe 2:45 in the morning, when I started to shiver from the cold. Even if I had a warm blanket around me, it was still very cold. So I woke up and decided to go out of the room to warm up for a bit before going back in. I carefully crossed the floor, making sure not to wake my classmates, and quietly opened the door of room 204. I walked out of the room and felt my body slowly warm up. The college at night looked quite creepy, and there was barely any movement at all, save for the occasional nightly flyers. After completely warming up, I walked back inside the room and crawled back under my sleeping bag, but as soon as I pulled the blankets over, I started feeling cold all over again. It was as if warming myself up was not effective at all. Suddenly, I heard a faint moaning sound in my ear. I started to quiver as I felt colder and colder. My eyes started to wander around the room, and that's when I saw her. I saw the faint figure of a lady, dressed entirely in a dirty grey dress with long, stringy black hair and a pale and gaunt face. Her eyes were completely black and hollowed as she stood in the corner of the room. I watched as she floated across the floor towards the last door. She suddenly stopped, and I quickly covered my face with my blanket, hoping she would not see me. I was too scared to even open one eye to see if she was gone. After what seemed like forever, I finally mustered up the courage to open one eye to see. The lady was gone, and it was morning. I quickly got up and went to join my classmates for breakfast. When they asked me why I woke up so late, I told them what I saw. They were speechless at first, and I could tell some didn't even believe me. Then one of my classmates spoke up. "You saw her too?" "Too?" I asked her if she had also seen the lady. She nodded and said, "I woke up at around 3 to go to the ladies' room. When I was walking across the hallway to the ladies' room, I felt so cold that I ended up shivering. I walked back to room 205 and I saw the lady walk through room 204 and glide across the hallway. I had opened the door and hid under my blanket as I watched her float by the door's windows. I thought I was dreaming at first, but when you said you saw her float out of your room, I knew I wasn't. Neither my classmate nor I could explain what we had seen, and ever since that night, whenever we would have classes in the second floor that ended at night, we would make it a point to automatically leave without looking back. The reason? Because sometimes, when we'd have classes there, be it day or the early hours of night, we'd still feel cold, like that night, and if we heard a soft moan, we'd see her standing in the corner, looking at us with those black, hollowed eyes. That's a sight I don't ever want to see or feel ever again.